And greetings from the Batcave, fanboys and fangirls. This is Jared with another video review from Fanboys Forever. Today I have a really cool one for you. This is the brand new The Flash movie Batcycle set, and this is so far the only way to get the Affleck figure in the 3 3/4 Spin Master line. He doesn't appear to be offered as a single carded figure at the time of recording. You also, of course, get just another standard version of the Flash, which, to my eye, appears to be the same one as the standard. Along with that, you do get the bike that is featured in the movie. Of course, I've been doing lots of reviews of the brand new The Flash movie products that have been coming out lately, so if you've been enjoying this type of content, then please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to go back and watch those other videos as well. I think you'll find something you like. And be sure to like the video because it really does help the channel grow, and I really appreciate it, and it really does motivate me to make more content. With all that out of the way, let's go ahead and take a look at Spin Master's latest offering. The set was, I believe, about $21, which is not a bad deal. Looking at the box here, I love the orange and the gold and everything, and I think it looks really nice. And as always, Spin Master has really been rolling out some really nice renders on this packaging. Up here it says it has an exclusive Batcycle, so this is the only way you can get it, is in the set for now. On the side, I really like the Flash movie logo, and on the back you get a really nice render of Flash and Batfleck. DC Films logo over here, and in case you're looking for it, here is the barcode, UPC number, whatever you want to say. All right, let's get this thing open. All right, and we are back with our review of the brand new Flash, Batman, and Batcycle set. Before we have a look at the figures, let's go ahead and have a look at the bike. So this is actually a really interesting design for a key reason, and that's because it really does resemble a Batcycle design from a few years ago that debuted in the White Knight limited series that came out. And in that series, Batman rides this motorcycle that kind of has more of a boxy kind of front end. And this very much does simulate that. And I really do think that that's where the designers' heads were at in terms of creating a Batcycle for Batfleck in the movie. And we've been seeing set pictures of this thing for a long, long time. Overall, it's definitely not my favorite Batcycle design. And I felt the same way about this kind of design when I saw it in the White Knight. I wish there was more of a bat motif. Instead, it just kind of has that boxy aesthetic and not enough of like the fins and things that I like in Batcycle designs. But I mean, it's still a neat looking kind of thing. It has kind of a light cycle vibe, only a lot more industrial without any of the neon lights or anything. I really do like the double wheels in the front. And they roll nicely, and they even roll independently of each other, which I think is neat. And then there's just one wheel on the back. The unfortunate thing is these are plastic wheels, but I mean, you know, these are Spin Master figures in the 3 3/4 scale, and very much are kind of aimed at that younger audience. The only way that I've found this so far is at Target. Now, that's not to say that it isn't other places, but this pack of the two figures and this particular Batcycle I've only seen at Target. Later, we'll look at how the figures ride on it, but for now, we'll look at the two figures that you get. Certainly, both of these are interesting figures in their own right. Just very quickly, I'll talk about the basic Flash here, because this is pretty much, from what I can tell, the same exact figure that you would get just in the standard line. I'm actually quite impressed by what a good likeness they've got to Ezra Miller, for better or worse, to a Google search. And he certainly does look like the actor, even at this teeny tiny little 3.5, 4-inch scale. So I think it does look good. I think they did a really good job on the intricate paint work that happens from all the different lightning bolt designs that go all over the outfit that are a lot like the New 52 Flash costume. Of course, none of that paint work continues onto the back, but I mean, who can blame them? At least the belt does go around, and of course the boots come around, but really nothing else does. The rest of it's just plain. I think one thing they could have done better on is they could have given the silver backing for the lightning bolt on the chest. Instead, it's just all gold, and I know at this scale it wouldn't have been so easy to have noticed anyway, but still, it's just one of those things that I wish they would have added. And the articulation is really pretty effective. With the Flash, what you'll want is some good running poses, and even without any kind of waist or diaphragm articulation, you can certainly get some pretty good stuff. And it's the exact same articulation you see with like every Spin Master figure. But honestly, I think the figure that everyone will be buying this set for is the Ben Affleck Batman figure. Of course, if you're not aware, Affleck Batman, this is the only way that you can get him thus far. And I think that was a really smart business decision on their end, because I'm not sure I would have bought this set myself unless this had been the case, because I really did want this tiny little Batfleck figure. And I hope it's pretty obvious why. Honestly, this is a darn good little Ben Affleck Batman figure. It really is. And what's funny to me is, with this thing being so minuscule, so tiny, how well it captures just that basic silhouette of Affleck Batman, how well it gets his proportions down, how nice that the armor looks with all the different padding. And there's not a whole lot of paint, but what paint they have applied was exactly the right hits to show the separation with the armor. Even things like the shoulder pads, the gauntlets, the knee pads, the chest plate, everything looks really nice. And I really like the addition of the black paint to show the straps coming through on all the armor, and then your imagination kind of does the rest, even though there really isn't much difference in the paint between the body and the armor pieces. Honestly, just a little bit of silver paint on some of those armor pieces could really bring this guy to the next level. I do think it's interesting because those old set photos from years ago now of the stuntman on the set playing Batfleck, I think that those sets kind of tell the tale why this figure isn't exactly accurate. Because in those pictures, yes, the cowl and the cape are a little blue. They're darker. And I think that in color correction, what they ended up doing was making them a lot more blue. And now you have figures, much more to the detriment of the McFarlane version, which I've not reviewed, but you have figures that just have a black cape and cowl now. And so I don't think it's any of the figure maker's fault. I think it's just one of those things that kind of got altered a little during production. There's kind of a little bit of weirdness back here because the way that they attach the cape, you can see that there's just this one attach point, and on the sides there's like square, little corners, and it doesn't look particularly good. You would almost think that these would need to be attached up here, but you actually see some of the gray back there. So it's kind of creates an unpleasant look, but it's fine when it's still, but when it moves around, it does weird stuff. At the bottom, they didn't even put any of the scallops on the bottom of the cape because Batfleck, he sort of has them sometimes, but a lot of the time he doesn't. I guess at this small scale, it doesn't matter too much. On the armor in the back there, that actually looks pretty good with the padding and everything. And I actually think that that turned out well. I am impressed that all of the black strap paint is all the way back around, even if they're still not putting any silver on those armor plates. Still though, I do think it does look quite nice. I especially like the gold accents on the utility belt. I think that goes a long way in selling it. And it makes me sad that this is the one and only Batfleck figure that Spin Master ever did. And when you think about it, they just kind of missed it. Mattel was the master toy licensor for better and a lot of the times for worse with a lot of those Batfleck figures. And it seemed like they just had the hardest time capturing the silhouette, especially the shape of the mouth and the shape of the head. And this just seems to effortlessly do it. Maybe some digital asset work going on here or something. But I'm very impressed with it, and I think it looks great. Of course, just a couple of comparisons. The Batmen in this line are, well, they're not exactly tiny, but they seem to be smaller slightly than the Flash. And you can see that the Ezra Miller Flash figure just has a little more height to it. It feels a little more prominent. And that's probably not accurate because Affleck is a really, really tall guy. And the same, of course, for the young Barry figure right here. He seems even more tall than Batfleck. There is some modicum of consistency, at least with the Batmans that they've done. And they're pretty much the same height, just flat out. I guess Affleck looks like he's a little bigger, and, that should be the way it is. But he should be a lot bigger, I think, than Keaton, unless he's wearing some dramatic lifts in his shoes. Just a couple of comparisons to help you understand the size of this thing. I have so many Spin Master Batman figures at this point from the regular comic book line, but if you want to just see where it stands in regards to their basic original Batman, basic Batman is bigger, ever so slightly. It's not so much a height thing as it is a bulk thing. He's just kind of a beefier figure, and I think that's kind of all you can say for it, and they don't look like they necessarily belong in the same world, but it's certainly a closer match than the Keaton figure was to the Spin Master regular version. Of course, just for fun, if we want to see what he looks like with a Dark Knight Collection Batman, to see how much it fits into that world of 5-inch Batman figures, just not really. This is definitely a 3 3/4 figure and doesn't straddle that line like the Batman figures did. Of course, you know, that brings us to one of those, the Rob Pattinson Batman, which really did start to veer into that almost 4.5-inch, almost 5-inch kind of territory, even if it didn't quite make it. It very much is quite a bit bigger than this and will not go together with it whatsoever. Naturally, with something like the McFarlane Batman figures, they don't even, you know, it doesn't even compare. These things are just so tiny compared to those. So here is just a McFarlane Superpowers homage figure for a Batman, and you know, he's way bigger, so it's not even in the same conversation really. So, moment of truth about the bike here. There's definitely some concerns I have about this, because when I was looking at the articulation on this guy, there isn't really any head up and down. So I already know what the problem is going to be. This guy is going to be looking like straight down. You see, this is eventually the best I could do. You'll spend more time just fighting it and being frustrated with it than anything. It's not awful once you get it on there. I've certainly seen worse, but not much worse. Yeah, it's a frustrating thing to look at, because they were this close, you know, to being able to get it to look convincing. And all it took was just a little bit of a tilt on that neck, and it almost makes me want to heat it up and warp that peg just ever so slightly to be able to look up. But then he would look awful funny standing there. So I don't know. It's just a real struggle to get him to look natural on the thing. But from the side, you can kind of cheat it. You can kind of get away with it because it's not quite as noticeable. The cape does funny things. It kind of likes to lay from one side to the other. It would almost be nice if there was a place to kind of put the cape right here to kind of keep it back to simulate that speed. Whee! I will say that the bike is pretty well balanced. Yeah, he goes to the side, but it actually looks good when it goes to the side like that, because it's more like, you know, he's hanging a turn like around like that. So yeah, you're just gonna have to deal with it as I play with it. Whee! Whee! I think I got him to a decent level of looking up, but it's still funny that he's just like looking down. Maybe he's looking at some kind of readout or something. Maybe there's a camera right there. Maybe there's a little screen that shows him what's in front of him, like the tumbler or something. Just so that you can kind of see the legacy of Spin Master bikes. Spin Master has made a bunch of different Batcycles. Of course, this one's a lot bigger. Of course, with the one we just looked at, they're trying to do movie accuracy, so you know, they designed it to where you could just set up on it. Here you have their more traditional Batcycle, and you can see they're not too far off from each other in terms of scale. Here's a fun comparison. The oft forgotten, oft overlooked Movie Master Batpod, which of course kind of functioned as the Batcycle of the Nolanverse. So I definitely think that's what they were going for here. The design isn't as iconic as this, but I certainly think that's what they're going for. And it's not too horribly far off in terms of scale, but of course this was a 6-inch product from Mattel. And if you want to see what it looks like alongside of the Keaton Batmobile, it's certainly quite large compared to the Batmobile, because I feel like that this bike isn't underscaled whatsoever, but that the Batmobile is slightly underscaled. So it does end up looking, I think, a little big compared to the Batmobile, but nothing crazy or anything like that. And of course, just so that you can see it done, you can just raise him up on there as long as you don't care about him hitting those handlebars or grabbing those. And he does look good, just kind of raised up on the thing. And I think that's a fine look, really. So one question you may have is, can Keaton Batman ride this thing? Well, let's find out. Believe it or not, it was even more frustrating trying to get Keaton on this thing. So I just gave up trying to get his hands on the handlebars. If you want to see how he looks on it, he looks pretty good. It's definitely not the Keaton Batman universe aesthetic, but I mean, it still looks decent, and the figure looks nice at this angle anyway. So, you know, if you really wanted to, but yeah, you're not gonna really be able to get him on there very easily. Of course, it figures that the Flash would be on here like the easiest. He's the simplest one because he's a larger scale and the arms are slightly longer, so you can do a little bit more. And he's the very character that wouldn't ever ride this or need to ride it. It kind of reminds me of back in the day when Mattel used to release like the Flash on a motorcycle or an ATV, and it was like, why? there's no reason. I will say that trying to get the hands on here just warps these things to where you bend them. Of course, they can go right back with a little bit of hot water, but I mean, it's kind of frustrating. Honestly, Batfleck looks a whole lot better on one of the traditional Spin Master Batcycles, and here he can even kind of raise up a decent amount to where he can sort of see what he's doing. And yeah, clearly this was more designed for these figures and not having to worry about movie accuracy. So, well, friends, I certainly hope that you've enjoyed the review today. This is a really interesting set. I think that in closing, it really didn't have enough product testing that happened. And of course, as companies like Spin Master try to hit movie release dates and have products by a certain date on the shelf, I don't think there's enough time for them to make sure sometimes that figures interact with vehicles, and they're waiting on license or approvals from both. And I think sometimes they just run out of time to get it where they need to. A lot of this could have been avoided had the Batfleck figure just had that hinge in the neck that it needed so desperately. And I think that holds back a lot of your ability to get good poses and good looks with Batman on the bike. And it is a real shame that that render on the back of the box is very misleading. And so I do kind of hold that against them, because that is kind of some false advertising going on there, much like some of the Lego renders that we see. However, value must also be taken into account here, and like the Batmobile set itself, again, this is Spin Master kind of planting their flag saying, hey, this is a figure vehicle line. That is kind of our bread and butter. We're going to sell you the vehicle, and we're going to give you some figures to go with it. And you can practically get the entire basic line with an exclusive figure like this one that just comes only in this vehicle set, like the Batfleck. And you can practically experience the whole line just through buying vehicle sets, and there isn't much reason to buy many of the singles. I certainly don't regret getting this set though. It was only like $21. And considering each of these figures would cost you about $9 on their own, you're almost getting the Batfleck Batcycle for pretty much free. I mean, maybe $3 by the end of it. That's pretty good. The value here is actually really high. And yeah, I think I would have a lot more to say if this were like $30 or $35, but nope. No, this is good. You get two figures and really nice bike, even if they don't work together very well. And it's an especially good deal if you play it smart, like I did, and you don't get that basic Flash figure just on its own. Yeah, save your $9. Do not buy hardly any of the basic figures. Just get the vehicle sets. You will probably, if you can be, you'll want to be in a position to be in an actual Target where you can look through paint samples, because even though the Flashes were pretty consistent, the Batflecks were not. Lots of them had different issues and different paint issues, and I had to struggle and could really only find the one that had decent eye paint on it. So that is something you'll want to be considerate. All right, friends, with all that out of the way, of course, be sure to like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and be sure to check out all of our other Batman and Masters of the Universe reviews right here on Fanboys Forever. And of course, keep an eye out, because I'll be having another Batman review for you very, very soon. So I think you'll be interested in the next product, because it holds a lot of promise. I hope you've enjoyed the review today. God bless you and yours, and I'll see you on Fanboys Forever. Fanboy out.